everyone, and welcome to Veterans in Crisis podcast. Today we have Alan Shaw, and he is a Trade and Standard Officer for Sunderland City Council. Hi, Alan.
Hi, Joe. How you doing?
I'm not too bad, mate. Thank you for coming on. We've primarily asked you to come on to talk a little bit about the COVID situation in Sunderland. We wanted to sort of try and get the message out of, we realise ourselves that it's still not finished. Me personally, I'm absolutely gutted because I've just had 2 festivals cancelled, and I know that's a tiny thing in the world, but they were cancelled last year as well, and then it get to the point where you really thought was going to happen, then all of a sudden Boris is like, well, just another 4 weeks, which now, I've been good all the time, but now I'm just thinking next 4 weeks he's going to go, nah, just another 4 weeks. Just another 4 weeks.
I know it's frustrating, and I know that there's a lot of people like yourself who are frustrated, not just because of for their personal lives, but for their businesses and stuff. It's been one of those ones where when the roadmap was published, and we're going back to sort of February time now, obviously the vaccination uptake was good, and the rollout was good, and case rates were dropping, and it was all looking good. And then we sort of started the unlocking, and I think that up until probably 3 or 4 weeks ago, maybe, we thought actually we've got this under, we're getting this under control. The vaccine rollouts are working, the cases are dropping, the unlocking is we're not seeing, there weren't massive spikes, and we went into step 2, and outside hospitality reopened. Although, to be fair, at the time, people were sitting with hailstones dropping in their pints outside, wouldn't they? But unfortunately, what's happened is that this variant of concern, this Delta variant, has kind of given us the need to pause. I mean, it is a lot more transmissible, and a lot more transmissible. I mean, kind of anecdotally, the people say that whereas when people got the previous variant of COVID, if someone in a family got it, if that person kind of went and isolated themselves inside the home, there was a good chance that other people wouldn't get it, in the family, and it would just be, you could break that transmission in the family. And now, sort of anecdotal evidence is if one person in a family gets the new Delta variant, then within the first 24 hours, the whole family's got it, so it really is a lot more transmissible. And I think that, moving into step 4 and removing all the restrictions would have posed the risk of a huge growth in the number of cases. And actually, the vaccine rollout has been really positive and really successful amongst a lot of older age groups. The people that are going to do the majority of the mixing, are the ones that are in the demographics that are the least vaccinated. The younger people, they're the ones that will probably do the most socialising, the most mixing, and they've had the least amount of vaccine in them groups. And if you get huge numbers of cases, even people that you think are in the lower risk categories will get ill. There will be a proportion of those that get ill. So it's a big worry, and I know that nobody, I've been dealing with the COVID response for the City Council, since last April. It's been we all want it to be over. Everyone wants it to be over, but I think that the 4 weeks delay is sensible. Actually, I'm not the government, but if it was me, and I know this would be very unpopular, I don't think we should be showing the football in pubs tonight. I think that's going to pose a huge risk of lots of people, get infected with it, because case rates are on the up.
It's funny you should say that, because 5 minutes before you came on my phone it just flashed up Sky Sports, and they're thinking about, because obviously we've got the semi-final and the final at Wembley, they're thinking about letting anybody in without any quarantine from any country. Now, if I can't go into a festival in Stanhope, I don't understand what the crack is there. I'm sort of losing the will to live, to be honest, about it, because I've just been reading the news where they're all at Ascot. Loads of posh people are at Ascot. That's all right. And this isn't, obviously, it's not our council's fault. It's just, this has come from the government. And to me, I don't understand how it can be all right for one group of people and not another.
I know. And the rules have kind of thrown up these weird situations ever since the start. Like all the way through this, we've had a situation where one shop can open and one shop can't open. Right when we're in full lockdown. And why is that? Classic example. If you go down if you go down sort of Chester Road in Sunderland, there's a paper shop next to a card shop, and the paper shop could open, but the card shop couldn't open. Why? You know, what's the difference when you can go in Tesco's and buy cards and they're open? You know, we've had this all the way through COVID, and the rules are kind of have always been these broad brushstrokes to try and you know, break transmission whilst letting essential services function. And it's been really, really difficult for us as the council to try and you know, make people comply with these rules when they're normal people. You know, they're normal people. And when we were in the last lockdown, you'd have someone say, well, why is it okay for, you know, for this service to operate, but not my business? You know, I can give examples, you know, of people that were sort of seem to be unfairly affected, you know, like people washing cars. And why can't I wash a car? You know, a car wash. Why can't I do? Well, there was all these little examples of things that got caught by the rules. And yeah, at times it seemed a little bit arbitrary, but the intention was always to try and stop people getting ill. And the difficulty we've got now, and I totally agree with you, Joe, is like, you know, you mentioned this thing in stand-up, this festival. You know, if you can go to the pub and the pub can have 500 people sat in a beer garden watching the match on a big screen, which it can, you know, then why can't you have it? There's a lot of this. And unfortunately, I think that my personal view is that actually, you know, maybe hospitality shouldn't be having big beer gardens full of people, you know, watching the football, but those are the rules and that's what's permitted. And as a council, all we've ever tried to do is just to try and sort of strike a balance between what's reasonable and keeping people safe. That's all we've ever, you know, keeping people safe has always been what we've tried to, has been the priority. You know, where's the risk to public health from this? And you know, how do we balance that against the needs of business? And we've done the best we can do. I'm not saying we've done it perfect, but we've tried.
Yeah, I think anybody with an ounce of common sense realises the council's just trying to keep people safe.
Yeah.
I think now, with it going on so long and the government promising, if I remember, and I might be misquoting here, but I'm sure he said, there's no turning back. This will be it. This will be it. And then it's another 4 weeks. And then I've read that Margaret Hancock said, definitely after 4 weeks. But you cannot say that because what if there's a new virus, you know? So you shouldn't really be going around saying it's definitely going to happen, because like me, like other people, everyone's just thought, right, on that day, that's going to be all right. You know, you actually stand up in a pub. I mean, I don't know if you watch the football, but the other day there was a 67,000 people at, I think it was the Hungary game, and we've got to wait another 4 weeks to stand up at the bar. You know what I mean? It's mental, absolutely mad, like.
Well, yeah, I mean, I did notice there were 67,000 people at the Hungry game. I mean, but again, you know, I'm not sure whether that's wise or not. You know, we've kind of, you know, I saw you talking about the football. I mean, I watched the Champions League final a couple of weeks ago, and you saw the Chelsea fans in the final for that, and they weren't social distancing at all, were they? You know, and this is the risk. I mean, we all know it. We've had, you know, I've had a couple of meetings this week where we've been talking about the England-Scotland game tonight. Obviously, it's a big event for us. It's a big event for everyone in Scotland. You know, it's huge, and realistically, you know, we accept that if England score a big goal in that game tonight and people are in the pub watching it, they're going to be jumping up and down and hugging each other, and there's nothing that we could do to stop that. You know, it's only the government could have stopped that by saying you can't show the match in pubs or whatever, you know, and then people would have had to either watch it at home or, do you know what I mean? So all we can do as a council, we look at things. We have our own view. I mean, when the roadmap was first published, the roadmap was a good document, and it said, you know, these are the essential criteria that must be met before we can move from step 1 to step 2. And it didn't need dates put on it, because it's like, these are the criteria, and once the date met the criteria, then announce the date. But then, because the government put dates on it, and we said right from the outset, well, you shouldn't have done that, because now people are going to be thinking, if we don't unlock on June the 21st, they're all going to be feeling aggrieved.
And that's what's happened.
Yeah, people are.
I mean, I've worked and volunteered in the actual COVID setting at Horton and delivered stuff around Sunderland for GPs and stuff. So I know it's a real thing, and I've seen the devastation what it's had. And I've had a client on here that he was in hospital and there were people dying all around him. But you're exactly right. I think putting a date on something, I can see why they've done it, because that gives people hope. But then to take that hope away from them, it just feels like you get played. That's me personally. Just feels like the government's played me into believing that if I'm a good boy, I'll do that, and we'll let you play out. And then I was a good boy. I've stuck to all the rules, and then they've just said, "Nah, you're not going to that festival." And then because of that, I'm not going to the next festival either. And and it's sad, man. It's sad for the whole country, really. Well, the whole world, isn't it? Unless you live in New Zealand. Unless you live in New Zealand, then it's all right.
It's hard, and I think I don't just work for the council. Obviously, I live in society as well, and we're all fed up with it. We're all fed up with lockdown and the restrictions. Everyone wants life to be back to normal, and the problem we've got is that psychologically, I think, and it happened last year. I don't know if you remember after the first lockdown when all the pubs reopened on the 1st of July. I mean, I went, I was working. I was down in Sunderland City Centre on that Saturday. It was a beautiful sunny day, the 1st of July, and it was like Mardi Gras. People were just, out on the town, and it was a fantastic atmosphere. Everyone was having a great time, but it was the worst possible thing you could have done, in terms of the COVID. And this time I'm looking at it more slowly. I think it was a better plan. It's just really disappointing that that this variant, this new Delta variant, which spreads so much more easily, has come. And I hope, because it looks as though, and I'm no scientist, I just read the news and then see the news the same as you do, but it looks like the vaccine is holding up against the new variant. So if we can get everyone vaccinated, fingers crossed, then will be something that we can live with, rather than have to. I mean, because we all want to get back to normal, don't we? But unfortunately, the message really is, because the new variants everywhere. It's all over the country. It's in the northeast. It's in Sunderland, and the messages really are. It's just you need to just really try and just remember to social distance just for those few more weeks. It's really important. And the trouble is, we're trying to push that message. We're trying to push that message with the businesses. With the hospitality businesses, with the shops. And like you say, it's just fatigue now, isn't it? I think there was a report that I saw earlier this week from government saying that a lot of hospitality premises just aren't enforcing the track and trace check-ins anymore. I think it was sort of like under 60% are doing it, and it's if everyone gets to that point where no one complies with it anymore, then we're just exposing ourselves to more risk. It's just, I guess that's it really. It's a difficult job at the moment. It's a difficult job because we were looking at. It would have been Monday, wouldn't it, if we'd have stayed where we were going to be, and people thought it was over, but it wasn't over because the mask wearing was still in place, and other social distancing measures were still in place, and masks on public transport, all them things were still in place. But you just get the feeling, I don't know if you've noticed it, but I in my daily business, I go into shops and I go into garages and places, and a lot of people just aren't wearing masks now. People have stopped doing it.
I know,
and that's really dangerous with these variants of concern, because vulnerable people, the fact is, people that are vaccinated have got a much better chance of not getting sick, but people that are vulnerable can still get sick, and people that aren't vaccinated can still get sick. And we've got lots of, there are a number of communities in Sunderland and elsewhere where the vaccination take-up hasn't been high, and you've got these people that subscribe to various kind of anti-vaxxer conspiracy theories who won't get vaccinated for whatever reason or another, and so these people will get sick. People will get sick.
I think it was yesterday, might have been the day before, about it. They want everyone who works in the care home to do it. And my personal view, and it is only my view, I think that's a good idea. If you work in a care home for the elderly, you should have it vaccinated. However, it should be the person's choice. If you're going to get injected with something. I didn't want to have the vaccine, right? But I had it. I've had both jabs. I was really bad from the first one. I had a really bad reaction. But I still got the second one because I just want stuff to get back to normal. I can't be dealing with my clients if I'm going to put them at risk. So that was my theory behind it.
Are you finding that? I mean, from just talking about your clients, I know you're supposed to be interviewing me, but are your clients, have they taken up the vaccine when they're being offered it? Are they? Are you finding?
I don't think off the top of my head that I've heard one of them say that they're not having it.
No.
Because a lot of our activities are social activities. So, I'm not going to say if you haven't had it, but all of us want to get back to normal. So one of the best parts about this is we have like a coffee morning in the Gunners Club in Sunderland on a Tuesday. Right. And before COVID, you'd get about 50 people coming in, and obviously that had to stop, so we had to do it virtually, and then in the park, but only a certain amount, and then now we're finally getting in the gunners, but we're not allowed that many people, and then you've got to be on separate tables, and we can't have guest speakers, and so I think people are of the same ilk as me and think just get it done and get back to normal.
Mm.
I think that anyway. I
mean, you can have a gathering of up to 30 people outside at the moment, can't you? So
yeah.
You can, and while the weather's fine, because the weather's been great, isn't it? And while that lasts, then you could do that, I suppose.
Yeah.
It is difficult, particularly if you're dealing with people that are socially isolated. And I know there's a lot of people in Sunderland that are socially isolated. I mean, obviously, some of your clients will be, but speaking to colleagues that work in other parts of the council that are sort of dealing with other voluntary and community sector people, a lot of their volunteers are kind of helping deal with social isolation. But then the COVID puts a lot of fear in people. So people that are community minded that wanted to help and knock on people's doors and check in are reluctant to do so because they're exposing themselves or that person to risk, and it's led to a lot of people being socially isolated, and that's a real challenge, isn't it? I mean,
it is.
It's a real challenge.
Social isolation was one of the big problems to why I started Vix in the first place. Then we sort of kind of broke that a little bit, and then COVID happened. I mean, Vix has only been running the way it is now for 3 years, and we've been in this for a year and a half.
I know.
So it's been really difficult. But I'm not mourning because I've been really lucky. None of my family's died. There's people lost lots of relatives and people close to them. So I haven't really got anything to mourn about other than missing my festival. But
well, I think it's times like this that highlight really how important services like yours are, Jay. I think the sad reality is that organisations like yours shouldn't be needed because obviously, people should be looked after by society. But when society doesn't look after people, then it needs people to step up, doesn't it? And the sort of work that you've been doing is really, really needed, I think.
Well,
not just in Sunderland, but everywhere,
Yeah. Well, I think because once COVID started, because the public and especially the community, it helped us. So we just said, well, we'll just help everyone, not just veterans, because it's no different to drop food off to someone's house, or take some equipment for the COVID centre or whatever. Because I was at work anyway. I worked all through all the lockdowns. I haven't had a day off, and that was good for me because I would have hated being at home. I would have hated it. I mean, my partner, she got COVID, and then she went and stayed away from us, and me and my daughter didn't get it, which was proper weird because we'd been in the same room, in close proximity, and just she got it. We all went for a test because someone at my daughter's school got it, so we all went for a test, and it was only my partner who got it. Me and my daughter didn't.
And I think that was the story of the old variants, of the original variant, and then the so-called Kent variant that's been renamed something else now, the Alpha variant. But that was the case with those variants. That if a family isolated effectively, you didn't all get it. And that's the thing about this new variant. That's the worry is that if in those exact circumstances that you described with this new variant, you'd all have got it. And then of course that makes it just multiplies and multiplies again the risk, doesn't it? And I think that, people, you're right about people being stuck at home. And like you say, it's interesting you said that you found it like you carried on working and that was good for you, because I know a lot of people who were kind of forced to stay at home, work at home, couldn't continue working in the way they used to. And it had a real impact on people's mental health. I mean, it's had a massive impact. We've all kind of adjusted now to mixed working. I mean, certainly for myself, I'm at home now, but I suppose, again, I'm fortunate that because I was involved with the COVID response, I was one of the few people that worked for Sunderland Council that wasn't like on a frontline job like the bins or something like that, who was carrying on going to work. And had I been stuck just at home through that whole period, I think my mental health would have suffered. I think that you see a lot of people like that. My son, I think during the first lockdown, when he was off school for 6 months, I think it affected him. He was so unhappy. He was so glad to get back into school. And that's the other risk, isn't it? With this, if we get this fast spreading variant and then it gets into the schools and they start sending the kids home again, and I think nobody, you talk about missing your festival at stand-up, and that's go, but I think no one wants the kids back off school, I don't think.
No, I think my daughter's just left school, but obviously, so she sort of did, they said she wasn't doing exams, but she's been doing exams all the time. They just named it something else, But her missing all that schooling, really wasn't fair on them. And what I do feel sorry for is university students are paying $9,000 and all that's, they've just been doing stuff online. You know what I mean? So
terrible, isn't it?
It is, man.
Terrible.
Something should have been done about that. Definitely. I mean, I can't speak for any universities or anything, but you just think you pay 9,000 quid and you're just looking at a computer like I am with you now, and I only had to pay you $8,000.
Don't mention my fee, not while he recorded. Which is absolutely nothing, just in case anyone thinks.
Yeah. That was a flippant remark. I haven't paid $8,000.
I know. No, not even close.
No.
So yeah, I mean, as a society, we've all got the COVID fatigue, but I think the 4 weeks extension, I think is I agree with. I think it's sensible. I think removing all restrictions right now, if, like I say, in a hospitality setting now, you're allowed to drink indoors. You've got to stay seated. There's good reasons for that because moshes around bars. You think of a traditional pub and how it works. There's no fixed queue. You all just go approach the bar any way you can. You shoulder your way to the front and you wave your £10 note, your £20 note, and that is that's something that is going to spread the virus. So the table service thing it makes sense. It enables the pub, the restaurant to be open. But yeah, of course, people want to be standing up while they're having a pint and walking about and mixing, and of course they do. But I think it's a little bit more patience is going to be pay off in the long run, hopefully.
No, I hope so, man.
I don't think we'll go back to a full lockdown with the vaccine. I mean, I say that. I don't know. I'm no scientist, but so far it looks as though even though the cases are going up and up and up, the disease is not happening at the same levels that it used to. I think if it was, we'd be in a lockdown already. So, fingers crossed that for another 4 weeks delay, we get the vaccine down to another kind of, another tier. So we're only talking about the real youngsters that haven't been vaccinated. And then hopefully we'll be able to crack on. I hope so. I
hope so as well, man. Well, we got a bit of funding, so we did a leaflet. One side of it was all about VIX, the other side was about COVID and just how to stay safe. And we've had that sent round to thousands of houses in Sunderland. Not that anybody needs advice from me about COVID, you know what I mean? But it's a leaflet people might stick on the fridge and it just reminds you, doesn't it?
Absolutely, yeah. I think that, sometimes the message is coming from like I say, the voluntary or the third sector is better than messages that come from the government or the council. Because people, like you say, people are fed up with the government messages because sometimes they're a bit confusing. And then people... there's another subset of people that kind of, blame the council for enforcing the restrictions when, we don't make the rules. We just try and prioritise public health. But actually, if you've got a community organisation like yours that's saying, actually, this is really important, there's a section of people that are going to listen to that message more than the other messaging that they're getting. Because they think, well, actually, these people have got there's nothing in it for these people. So,
well, that's
actually, it. Maybe we ought to listen.
That is it. That is a valid point because we're just trying to pass it out and hope everyone stays safe.
Yeah, I do too, and I hope you can get back to normal business for your VIX in the near future as well.
That's what we need. Is there anything else you'd like to get out? Or any message before we wrap it up?
No, I mean really. The messages I was kind of hoping to get across was the public health message that people just still need to. It isn't over. Just need to be a bit vigilant and maintain the social distancing and wear the masks and enjoy going to the pub and having a meal and stuff and the relaxations. But still, it's not. We're not quite out of it yet. I think that's the key messages. And for the businesses that just please be patient because no one wants you to not be profitable and trading. But we don't want to go back into another lockdown. We want to, we need to kind of try and strike that balance between being open and staying safe at the moment, I think. So,
right. Well, excellent. Thank you for coming on and speaking about COVID, mate. And I hope you have a nice weekend and we smash Scotland tonight.
Well, I hope so as well. If there's any Scots watching, I hope nothing personal.
Yeah, they'll be drunk by now. They'll not remember. All right. Thanks a lot, man. Cheers, Alan.
Cheers. Bye-bye.
Bye.